Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it is all ball all the time. You are here with your host, Sean and Isaiah. This is episode number 53, and today I'm going to ask Isaiah a couple questions. One about the Clippers and their future, and the second one about the Grizzlies and their current president right now. And then we might have some time for some extra questions, but the question that we always start off with first is, Isaiah, how you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm just excited and a little nervous to get into these questions, so let's just hop right into it.
All right. So the first one is going to be, as we've known, Kawhi and Paul George have dealt with some injuries the last few years, and they've also been known to be one of the best teams in the league when healthy and up there with the contenders. But I have to ask you, if the title run in 2023 falls short, should the Clippers split up Kawhi and Paul George?
I'm gonna have to say yes. If this run falls short, maybe we give them one extra year, because at the end of the day, we can't even count last year since they never even really had a chance. So I say at best they get one more year after this year of a failed season before it's time to just blow it up. Because if this duo can't make it work after 4 or 5 tries at it, then what's the point?
Right. And when you say blow it up, do you mean just trade one away or trade both?
Either one. It just, like, this needs to not be the core of the team anymore.
Right. For me, I'm going to say yes. I don't think that we should even give them that extra year, just because Kawhi's coming up on 30, 32, 33. And Paul George is also up there around 32, 33 also.
I think Paul George is 30, then Kawhi might be like 31.
Okay. These guys aren't, with their injury history, it's not going to be any easier for them to stay on the court than it has been in the last couple years. Especially with Kawhi coming off of, I believe, what was it again? His injury?
I think it was ACL.
Okay. Well, it was either, ACL, or I don't think it was the Achilles. I'm pretty sure you're right.
Oh, no. It wasn't Achilles for sure. I know that.
That's, even with modern medicine and everything, that's nothing that can be taken lightly. And with Paul George, I think, even though, yes, he's still very talented, all-star caliber player, I think he's more inclined to go on a faster decline than Kawhi.
Interesting.
So
I don't know if I could necessarily say that either one of them would go on a faster decline than the other, because both of them, they have the same issues of being an injury-riddled players at this point, at least.
So I have to ask, let's say you trade away one player. Who would it be and what would it be for?
Well, I think the answer is obvious. You trade away Paul George. Why? We're talking about a guy who's 2-time champ, 2-time finals MVP. One of those championships was him absolutely by far being the best player on the team. So at that point, even if he is, let's say, 32, by the time they decide to blow this up, I'm still choosing him over Paul George, who, while is still a very good player, just is not on that level. So it's not worth trying to keep him as our number one guy.
Right. And to follow up that question, when you talk about rebuilding, I know I asked this whenever a little bit before, but are we talking about, going to Rockets, Pistons types length of rebuilding, or are we talking more about a Pacers type of rebuild?
Ideally, if they only trade away one of these guys, I would prefer them to do a Pacers or even Raptors type rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
But if they blow it up and like really just want to clear house, get rid of Kawhi and PG, then at that point, yeah, they just need to do a full Rockets Pistons style.
And I think a good question to end this topic off, would be, if they are to be traded, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, where would you see them going? Like, what teams do you think they'd fit best with?
That's interesting.
And this, this is pretty tough questions just because of money fits and all of that.
Exactly. Money fits. We don't know how the scope of the league changes from year to year. Like, if we look at the past 3 seasons, look at how many guys have changed teams, how much it shifted the league in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it really could be anywhere, but I think ideally they both get traded to some kind of contender, or they
Right.
walk to a contender if a trade doesn't happen or anything.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we could wrap that one up and go ahead and transition to the Grizzlies question.
All right.
For the Grizzlies, should they give away young talent now to chase a title?
Absolutely not. I think that is the last thing they should be doing. They still have plenty of time with the youth on this roster. And then they're also in a really good spot because Ja is by far their best player and nobody else is near his level on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So there shouldn't at least be an issue of, oh, we're going to have too many of our young guys asking for max extensions, because nobody else on their team is going to be worth a max extension.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with what they have now, the fact that they got as far as they did, it says a lot. I think that's perfect. That's the evidence that they needed to just stick with this team. Maybe give it a few more years. Hopefully the Warriors weaken some more, their guys develop some more, and then maybe they can look at trading some of their guys.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, because I've also seen some, mock trades where Kevin Durant gets traded to Memphis. And that is just absolutely crazy to me, because what you would have to give up for Kevin Durant, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, and then probably around 5 picks, 5, 6, 7 picks. That's your whole team basically, and your whole future for, what do you have left?
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson's gone.
Yeah. We have Ja, we have Steven Adams, and then a whole bunch of Brandon Clark is the next best player after. Like, come on, man. No,
yeah.
Nobody's doing that for a 32, 33-year-old Kevin Durant, bro.
I mean, as great as Kevin Durant is just, I don't think we've seen Kevin Durant be on a team where he's been able to carry. Like, I mean, look at, I'm not trying to hate on Kevin Durant or anything, but with the Warriors, he had Steph, Clay, Draymond. With the Nets, even with, granted, Kyrie and Harden were injured. He even, KD was injured for that 1 year before that Harden was there. We haven't seen him win with less than, 1 to 2 All-Stars on a team.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So my answer is a definite solid no.
Yeah, and I think it's just clear that Kevin Durant in general, there's something about him where he doesn't have it in him to be able to carry a team. Like, so far, we have only seen 5 players in the league who can truly carry a team.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, LeBron, we've seen it entirely too long to even debate that. Steph has proven it multiple times. People like to act like this championship was the first real time. No, he's definitely done it before.
Mm-hmm.
I think Giannis made it clear with the 2021 championship. So Giannis is in that group. Kawhi with the Raptors championship. Even though that wasn't necessarily a carry job, it's the fact that the rest of the team wasn't exactly consistent, but he was. So I'll classify that as a carry for that reason.
Yeah, I agree with you there too. Because if you take Kawhi off that team, you have Pascal and Kyle Lowry as your two other best players, and I mean, realistically, that's probably no better than a 5-4 seed in the East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
then the last player that I think has shown the ability to carry is Luka. He hasn't carried them to a championship yet, but he's shown that he can carry a team.
mhm. Since we have quite a bit of time left over, I think we could just turn this into more of a quick question type of thing.
Okay.
So, my next question for you is: should the New York Knicks give up a significant amount for Donovan Mitchell?
Now, when we say a significant amount, what are we talking here? Because picks and quality of players are two different things in this situation for me.
So, I'm guessing that guys like Obi Toppin would have to be included in that deal. Guys like Quentin Grimes, and more than likely one of two of RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and then including probably around 3 to 4 picks, maybe. I mean, look what they got for Rudy Gobert. Whoever is in that Utah front office got them, treasure.
That is a very good point. And if we're gonna say, well, since Rudy Gobert got that, then absolutely I would say that Donovan Mitchell should be worth that. But I think in the best interest of the Knicks themselves, they absolutely should not do that, simply because they do not have the depth to give up that many significant players.
I'm actually on the other side here with you.
Okay.
I'm going to say, well, I mean, yes, it does come down to actually what are the Knicks going to give up? Because I don't think they should give up on RJ yet. I think RJ still, has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's very young still. But I do think the Knicks should trade for Donovan Mitchell. Like Obi Toppin, I really feel like he hasn't shown too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call him a bust because he's not. I don't think he's anywhere near bust. But from that draft class, he's probably been one of the most least impressive.
You see, and that's fair. Where I see the issue is with Julius Randle or RJ Barrett. I think that's where we come across an issue, because at that point, if you're getting rid of one of them, then we're talking about either a Donovan Mitchell Julius Randle duo or a Donovan Mitchell RJ Barrett duo, neither of which sound like they're getting you any higher than a 6th seed at best.
Mm-hmm. So let me make this package for you.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle, Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, and about 3 to 4 first round picks. Would you trade Donovan Mitchell to pair him with Cam Reddish? I'm sorry, not Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett. I don't know why I just called him Cam Reddish. I'm glad I caught myself before you did.
Yeah,
I'm sure you caught it first, but before you said anything.
Yeah, like I was about to say Cam Reddish.
It's because he got traded there. So,
I think I'd need to see something else going to the Knicks. Like they can't do all of that just for Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, and that's fair. I just think the Knicks really need a real star, and they've needed a real star for a long time.
You see, and I absolutely agree. I think them and a lot of teams actually need a real star. But at what point are you sacrificing the team around that star that you would be getting. So at that point, it's even worse than letting Donovan stay in Utah. Like I don't know. He'd just be wasting his career either way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan's still young. Obviously not as young as some of the other better players in the league that are better than him, but I don't think his situation could be any better in Utah than it would be in New York. So I guess let's go ahead and move on for that one. I have another question for you here.
All right.
Should the Orlando Magic choose between Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs?
I don't think they should be choosing right now. I think both of these guys are still very young. They still have plenty of room to try and develop together before you try and kick one of them out. I mean, look at Colin Sexton and ooh man, I'm so sorry I forgot his name. Oh my goodness.
Talking about Darius Garland?
Yes, Darius Garland. I'm so sorry. He was an all-star too. Oh man, that's bad. But yes, look at Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. At the end of the day, those two are still together. Granted, Colin Sexton was injured, but that duo is still together despite the problems that they showed. So I think there's still plenty of time to let both of these guys come into their own a little bit more before we start saying, hey, one of them needs to go.
And let's go ahead and change this into, I guess, a little more in-depth question for the whole Orlando Magic guard position, because they still have Fultz.
Yes.
And they still have I can't think of the other guy that's on their team. Is it Hampton?
Oh yeah. RJ Hampton.
Yeah, Hampton. So with that whole guard situation, I think the Magic have the problem of just being log jammed at every position.
You see, I don't think it's necessarily that bad at the guard position because we're looking at least a couple of guys who could be a sort of combo guard. So you get minutes at both of the guard positions out of them. And then on top of that, I mean, as we've seen with this Magic team, injuries sweep through their team religiously. So I think it's good to have as many backups as possible.
Man, it feels like we haven't seen John Isaac play in decades.
Oh man, yeah, because he hasn't played since the bubble, right?
Since the bubble, yeah. When he had his injury.
Man, yeah, that's. Oh yeah, in NBA time, that's like a decade, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean they have plenty of talent. I think they have plenty of talent to grow with. But like I said, it's like, they have Jonathan Isaac, who, when healthy at his best, can be a defensive monster. They have Paolo, who seems to be already one of the best in the draft class. That's what he was predicted to be anyways, but still. Who else? They have Franz Wagner, who showed to have a pretty good season last year. For the guards, they have, the four that we named. And how do you balance out this playing time to also make this team competitive? Well, let's say for another year, because the Magic should not be competitive
competitive is a crazy.
Yeah. So to be competent, let's say competent.
Okay.
How do you balance out this team to be competent while still also pushing for development?
Oh man, you see, and then that's also we have to acknowledge that they have. I want to say they kept Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter at their center positions.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So because if they didn't have those guys at center, then I was gonna say maybe they could experiment with some small ball lineups, like putting Paolo or John Isaac at the 5. But I don't see them necessarily taking either one of those guys away from that 5 spot. So it's a really tough situation. And I think the fact that they've had so many injuries has forced them to get so many guys to fill in these spots. And now you have these guys coming back. So what do you do now that they're going to be back? I admit it is a tough situation, but ultimately it's pretty clear who's the more valuable players of these groups. And I think those are the ones that you need to emphasize the minutes on.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you brought up Wendell Carter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I have this feeling again, just like I did last week with Yusuf Nurkic, that Wendell Carter will be one of the, and when I say better, please do not think that I mean better than Jokic,
Yeah,
better than
not
any
one of the
Embiid.
best, one of the
Yes,
better, like
one of the
better than
better,
average.
yes, better than average centers in the league.
Okay.
Just, looking at what he did from that trade from the Bulls to the Magic and how much he improved, my prediction is that he will be a top, let's say, because I do believe the center position in the NBA is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's definitely gotten better in the past few years.
I'll say he's top 15, and
okay.
that's the better half of the league out of the 30 teams.
Yeah,
so I'll say top 15.
Yeah, we're saying out of all the starting fives in the league, he's about midway point of the starters. Mm-hmm. So if we're including guys on the bench too, then that absolutely puts him in the better half. So yeah.
All right, I'm glad we're on the same page there. All right, well, I think we can go ahead and wrap things up.
All right.
That's going to be the end of the episode. If you like the episode, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Isaiah, any last comments?
You know the usual. Don't forget, share with as many people as you can.
All right, we will see you on the next one.